Welcome back, survivors. I'm the SurvivalVis, and we return to Ecosystem, where think of these as just like a couple of little follow-up episodes to the series right now. I think Ecosystem has kind of shown off what the majority of it has to offer at its current state of development, so what we're going to do is show off the last mode that I didn't really get to touch into yet, which is the creative mode. And what we're going to do is try to kind of blend in a bit of Subnautica feels with this. I've got a map up on the monitor the camera's mounted on, so I can kind of check and use as a bit of a reference. Again, it's not going to be like scale 1-to-1, stuff like that. I'm just kind of getting the general layout to see what we might be able to recreate and what we can't. But everything's looking rather okay, so let's hop into creative mode and see what it does offer. Ooh, this is a... Okay, so this is quite a bit different. I think I might actually go with Valley, because Subnautica does have a number of like hills, mounds, things like this, so that might work really well, but this is a pretty interesting idea of doing it. It's almost like... this is more like a planetary overlook in a way. Yeah, so this is cliffs. Cliffs could work, but I think I might still stick with Valley. I just want to look at all these different presets. I don't know... I think they definitely have an impact when you're trying to get down, like, your pioneer species and, like, plant life and that, but I don't... Wait, strange? What is... Trench, Abyssal Reef. Those I can kind of recognize. Oh, this is strange. Yeah, this is kind of strange, isn't it? Okay, I don't think we'll do that. I want to see what Reef is like. It's going to be either Valley or Reef will do. I think I'll actually go with Reef if this is what the preview is. I may. Actually, no, we'll go Valley so that way it's more of like a blank white slate in a way. Yeah, we'll do that, and everything will just kind of leave as is and okay. Okay, so creative mode. Well, in creative mode, in this mode you have infinite resources and everything is immediately unlocked. There are a few other changes as well. Plants do not age or release seeds. You place all plants in your environment directly. If a plant is eaten by a creature, it will regrow in 1 generation's time. Creatures always return to where you initially spawned them to mate. You can move this location by opening the train menu and selecting the mating grounds, then dragging the mating grounds markers in the game world. Okay, that's interesting. So I guess in the regular mode... Yeah, in the regular mode, you don't get to actually place down where the mating grounds are. I don't believe. It could be, now that they've explained it through this, it could be perhaps that wherever you initially spawn them becomes the mating grounds, but I didn't think there was anything that really came up specifically to mention that. But this actually will serve really well. Okay, so I want to sort of be viewing... no, where do I want to go? I gotta go south. I want to start right in the middle-ish area. So it looks like about right here. This will be a good area to start. And yeah, everything is unlocked. Like you can see all plants, miscellaneous corals, stuff like that. The animals, I don't know if we'll put anything in this episode, as we'll just kind of focus more on just trying to recreate a bit of Subnautica here. So what I want to do is, let's start with... let me see. Not yellow grass. I do think I want tall grass, because we'll kind of say this is going to be our safe, shallowish area, which I'll actually, you know what? Maybe change that to a proper sand. And increase that and just go terraforming some of the ridge here. Then we'll smooth that out. Oh, right, don't need to pause that. I keep thinking like space is your jump or your up. I guess it is Subnautica kind of kicking in a bit where you've used space to surface and go up for air. Yeah, I'm just going to kind of clean this area up, add some more sand, and then let's see. Replace. Let's smooth this a bit now. Just try to see if we can make it a little bit more neater. There we go. Can look a little bit more refined in there. Okay, so let's say that point of reference is going to be kind of like our safe, shallow area. Now what I want to do is look at making a few of the kelp forests that are generally like dotted around that. So I'm going to use the tall grass. let's head down and fill out some of these areas more. I do think that well, it's called tall grass, but it doesn't look that tall, does it? I think that's mostly just because of, well, just how big the other plant life can be. But we'll fill in these areas around the safe shallows. Get some of this going on. There we go. And then we'll do the same. Actually, maybe what we'll do is we'll leave that area for another type of region. That'll be the grassy plateaus. But back into all the tall grass here. Let's see, we got a couple types of kelp, don't we? Yeah, okay, not the pondweed. Curly leaf, giant kelp, I think that's what we want. There's also the bull, I think. Or yeah, bull kelp. You don't know, let's go for just regular giant kelp, because there's our strangle vines. I think that's what they're called. Man, it has been a while since I've done the Subnautica series, but I am very looking forward to the... Oh, what's it? Come on, I'm thinking of it. Subnautica Below Zero, the sequel, or... I'm not sure, maybe sequel? It's not like... I'm not sure how I'd kind of say it. I wouldn't really say spin-off, because it is a main entry to the series. I guess sequel is kind of the right term for it, but yeah, very looking for when Below Zero launches, because we will be doing a series covering that. There we go. It's looking a bit more fleshed out, isn't it? Yeah, I don't want to overwhelm us with too much stuff. Again, try to minimize the lag. And then for the safe shallows, I think what I'm going to do is more things like coral. Yeah, we'll get... Well, actually, you know what? The tubes are something that are very familiar for Subnautica. Because there were all kinds of coral tubes and that you could use in the safe shallows. Get some mushrooms for the acid mushrooms. And maybe some more... Oh, excuse me. Of course, first recording the day, and always seems like I have to warm up a little bit. We'll just put some plankton around as well. Yeah, just try to make this seem a little bit more lively. Okay, and is there anything else I want to add into the kelp forests? See, I don't think there's actually that much all dotted along the bottom. There might have been a few areas with, like, some of the acid mushrooms, but I think the kelp forest, for the most part, didn't have that much diversity aside from, like, all the grass and the strangle vines. I don't know, that still doesn't sound like the right name for them, but... Strangle kelp? No, I think that's actually Warcraft. We'll just get a few more dotted down. There we go. Okay, so, what do we want to do next? So the next one would be the grassy plateaus. Now, the thing is... these ones are all... Well, in Subnautica, these are all, like, your red grasses and that. The issue is, we are probably not going to be able to replicate the color. So I have to figure out what would kind of work for that. I think what I will do is use the red reef for it. Let's get that brush size up. And let's see about making a big area over here. Yeah, we'll definitely... What we'll probably do is we'll smooth and... Oop. Should have let go of the mouse there. We'll smooth all this out, kind of level it off as well. Just get a nice big patch of this area. Okay, so... Start with a smooth, just to bring that in. Yeah, that I definitely do want to look at correcting a bit. I think we'll keep a little bit of, like, rock in there as transitional. Okay, so there's dig, there's replace, there's current. So I guess I want... Yeah, we'll dig, and then we'll kind of repair that using the tool. Oh no, just replace. That's what I should have been using. I really gotta just stop and kind of read sometimes. I mean, that's actually something... When I'm watching some YouTube videos that can irk me a little bit is when the person doesn't just, like, stop and read, so I'll try to be a bit better about that. But let's smooth all that a bit more now. Oh, it looks like we're kind of getting a mix in of that red reef. So let's just try going over again. Kind of like paint that over. There we go. Okay, so now we're looking for more like a grass. So I think we've got Java fern, Congo, seagrass. That's what we'll use. Oh, geez, I didn't even realize that you could just, like, drag and paint like this. I was always placing it down, like, individually. But yeah, we'll get a lot of this around. There we go. Now, I think as long as I'm mindful of if we put any creatures in, we won't hit too much lag. But you can really see, like, the creative mode, you can put a lot in, and you can really change things up. Now, granted, you can do that in the regular mode, too. It's just that creative, you don't have to worry about the points that everything runs off of. You can really let yourself go wild. Yes, there's one area of the grassy plateaus. I should expand that out, although I can see on the mini-map, because of all the grass we put down, you can't actually see the area quite so clearly or easily now. But yeah, we'll leave a few ridges in between and just get the red reef to expand a bit further along this way. And I'll double check the little bit, I guess, reference map, if we want to call it something. And then see what area we want to start developing a little bit more with. I can't see digging down to do stuff like the Lost River. Again, this is just a bit of experimental to try some stuff out, see what it's like. I will actually do something a bit interesting here, though, that the plateaus are kind of well known for. Actually, the shapes kind of like come naturally in a way, too. I just gotta circle around to expand them out. Well, that's kind of Subnautica-like. If you ever go into the Grassy Plateaus area and you look around there, you have a lot of these I wouldn't really call them plateaus, but almost like pillars just kind of like left behind and standing in there. Okay, so we've got our safe shallows. We've got ourselves safe shallows, the kelp forest, grassy plateaus. So if we continue this way, it looks like we might be around the crash zone. So the crash zone where the Aurora came down is basically all just sand. So we'll just make a big sandy chunk of area around this way. Although honestly, actually, if I'm looking at this, I've probably screwed up, and this is way too far south for what I should be doing. This should actually be the Crag field area. And it should be over here that we want all the... Actually, you know what? I'm going to try digging this down, because we don't need this big mountain over here. This would basically be where the ship crashed into. One thing I do think would be nice to develop is almost like maybe an intensity slider for the brush. Like, it has a set amount that it goes down every click or every drag. I think it'd be nice if you could change like how much material is removed and how much is added, more so than the size of the brush for it. Because you can still do the job, it just does take a little bit of time for getting some of the larger stuff that you can kind of see we're trying to dig out here. We'll try to bring that all in line. I really have no idea how long I've actually been at this. One of the things about having the map up is I don't actually have the capture I can be watching as well to see how long I've been recording for. Yeah, we got a lot to dig out here if we want to. Now we got a few like little outlier things to... Okay, but we'll get this down a bit. Okay, and let's just replace that again with sand. Actually, maybe what we'll do is we'll try smoothing all this out that we just tried to get rid of. There we go, smooth. And then, is that the only sand we have? Darks? I know, let's go with dark sand. Make it a little bit different than the safe shallows area. And basically just sweeping back and forth like a paintbrush. Just get everything in there. There we are. We'll say the big mound here is the crash area. It's just been buried underneath all the sediment and debris from what it kicked up. And you know what, we'll get this, try to get right towards the edge of the plateau area there. Okay, and I think that'll work. I just want to pause for a minute and check how the capture's doing. Like, how far along are we? Okay, we're back. Yeah, we're only around the 16-minute mark, so I've still got a ways I can go. And now that I know that much, I can always just look at a different clock or something to kind of keep going. Okay, so that's the crash zone. I wanted this area to be the Crag field, and that one, well, we're going to have to do a lot more digging again, but then we're going to definitely be playing around with the adding tool. So let's kind of get ourselves a marker set. Let's say, yeah, this is where it takes some time to remove old material that you want to get. Although, truthfully, maybe we'll leave some of the, like, border almost kind of jagged and rough like that. The Crag field is a lot of rough, jagged, almost like spear-like rocks in a way. That's probably one of Subnautica's really notable features to it. From one of the biomes, you can really tell you know exactly where you are if you see it. Okay, and then we'll replace that. I think we'll do dark rock for this area. I feel like that's a good sort of stand-in for the texture that the Crag fields have to it. And just kind of get it down there so they have that sort of overlap almost. And let's just keep on going. But as the ecosystem develops, I am curious to see what much more skilled people, and also people with a lot more time on their hands, are able to pull off with it. Like, the terraforming tools are very, very good already at this early stage. And then when you can also do stuff... Okay, let's... There we go, there's one, and then we just basically repeat that a number of times. And that's the Crag fields. Yeah, it is that you have to drag a bit to keep it being, like, dug out. But, I mean, you can still get the job done pretty well. I'm just going to expand the brush a little bit, just because, like, some of those are looking pretty skinny for what I'm trying to pull off. You can do stuff like that, and maybe we'll just get a couple more in here. And there wasn't really too much plant life in the Crag fields. If anything, they were just little sporadic parts of, like, seagrass in certain areas. It was much more barren, sparse. Basically, a pure rocky sort of environment. I know there were a lot of bone sharks in the area, but I don't think we'll be doing creatures this episode. Okay, so there's that. Now, what else is around there? There is the Grand Reef that would be approximately over this area. The only problem is that would be something I'd really have to dig down to, but I could look about instead replacing the ground with something else. Muddy sand, grass, pale reef. We could do that. We could change this into a bit of a different reef. I just got to... Let's replace that. I accidentally did. Yeah, so maybe we'll try that. We'll leave a bit of mountains again, sort of, as the transitional zone. And say this area is going to be our Grand Reef area. Now, if it actually was, we'd have that dug all the way down. But again, for time's sake, we are just going to replace this and then layer it with a bunch of different stuff like corals and... Actually, I think just a lot of coral, really. Like, the Grand Reef in Subnautica uses those, like, almost like hanging globe... Well, not hanging, floating globes. In a lot of spots, but I don't think we're going to have anything quite like that we can really play around with, so... We'll just use the corals and various other things that we do have access to. Yeah, so that's about the edge right there, so let's just... kind of work that back, and I think we're kind of meeting up to... Yeah, we're meeting up sort of bit about there. And it's actually not... I'm surprised. The Grand Reef must have a lot more room underneath than either that or on the map. I just never realized how tiny it is compared to some of the other biomes. Okay, so... Let me think. What would be... you know what? We'll get stuff like bubble coral. We'll get bubble coral. We'll try to keep the colors close to what the Grand Reef uses on Subnautica. So that's going to be a lot of teals and blues. And then there are patches of seagrass too, so we'll use that. Just gotta remember which one it is. Not quite. Where are you? There you are. Okay, and we'll just kind of dot some more. Definitely have a lot more areas we can add the coral into. So let's just make sure we go about doing that. And then maybe we'll see about trying to get one more area with kind of this. No, actually, I think I gotta do some more replacement here. And we'll say to the edge of this sort of like mountain range will be our deep or Grand Reef area. Actually, maybe not, because that still seems pretty far. I guess maybe we'll try using that little stretch of sand there. Okay, so let's just get this in. There we go. Okay, and let's see just about, again, planting more all over the place. And that was, yeah, that's the seagrass. There we go. So we're actually shaping up not too badly. We've got our little safe shallows towards the middle-ish of the map here. Got the grassy plateau right here. There are going to be more of those I gotta make, but that's just the start. Then we have to the east of that, the crash zone. This is basically just sand and a few terrain features. The Crag fields, which actually didn't come out too bad. Some of these are kind of odd little noodle finger sort of things, but not too shabby, I don't think. The kelp forests, I think, did come out very well. But then again, those are pretty easy to do, because it's just place down some kelp and there you go. Then we got the Grand Reef with all kinds of corals and that to it. Not as spectacular as the Subnauticas, but it's still a bit of a stand-in. So what else do we got? Okay, the Sea Treader's Path and the Sparse Reef would be next if we come around this way. So I think for the Sea Treader's Path, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to make just like a flat plateau if I can. I guess there's not really like a level sort of feature, is there? So I'll have to just kind of like try to get an area that looks about even and then smooth it out to be... And then we'll probably have these as the last two things that we do for this episode. And the next episode, which will probably be the last episode of Ecosystem for now, it's a series I'll definitely be keeping an eye on and touching in with every so often as it gets updated. But again, for right now, it just kind of feels like it's where it's kind of met its limit for what it has to offer right at this moment. Let's get the smoothing tool and smooth all that out nicely, or try to. Yeah, it's kind of high at the back here, so I'll do some more digging. And then I can't even remember what the Sparse Reef has, if anything, if I'm honest. I can't remember if that was just like a branch off of what the Grand Reef was sort of like, or if it was actually something more different. I guess for our purposes, we'll just kind of make it a bit, well, like the Grand Reef, but again, more sparse. And a few of those things to try getting rid of. Okay, and if we smooth this out now, I think we've got a good sort of stand-in for what the path area the Sea Treaders use is like, because their migration in-game basically reduced and took out all the foliage along their route. So it's basically just a downtrodden, almost like circuit in a way. So I think like it might be nice to get like a level tool. But I think that would be an okay enough stand-in for the path right there. Just kind of say like they've been going in circles all that time in that little area there. And then... Okay, so... Beyond the path... Now, technically the Sparse Reef is between a grassy plateau. So maybe we'll just... look at up here. Let's just do a bit of replacing with that dark reef again. And we'll just say... Actually, that's interesting, because maybe what I'll do... This maybe we'll use for the Sparse Reef area. Just like the side up here a bit. And then what we'll use with that ravine is the blood kelp that we'll do next episode. Again, we'll just kind of get this little area made up here. That should do. And then let's just start with, again, just some corals kind of planted around for color. A few things of seagrass. There we go, and then just finish off with a little bit of seagrass tucked in around here. And we should be good to leave this right here, and then we'll resume development next episode right here, making a little bit of a blood kelp area. So for now, we'll just save here, and we'll call this the Subnautica. There we go. And leave this episode of Ecosystem right here. Thank you all very much for joining me on this episode of the series. If you did like the video, be sure to give us a like, and if you have any comments, tips, or tricks, be sure to leave everything in comments right down below. I always try to respond to any feedback or questions that come up on the channel as soon as I can. Until I see you all in the next video, survivors, please remember as always, to take care and stay alive.